of mind that you can have is think about maybe doing business in the dead of winter in this area. It's probably like the area that I come from, Seattle, which in the wintertime is a miserable time to sell cars. Think about a rainy Saturday, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in December, right? Haven't had a lot of activity that day. That car rolls on the lot. I know what I used to think. That was, man, this could be the only opportunity I'm going to get today. I'm going to do it all right. Everything by the book. The meet, the greet, the opening, demonstration, investigation, the whole bit, okay? We tell ourselves that we're doing everything right, but the reality is we still skip steps. And in this marketplace, we can't afford to do that, okay? The thing to think about is today, there are still 30% of the leads that are coming in from customers who are raising their hand go unanswered. 30%, 3 out of 10. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And what's even more crazy is, in most cases, we paid for these, okay? Again, think about every dollar counts today. We cannot skip steps. We've got to go back to the basics. Here's the other thing that we need to think about. How do we maximize those that we do get? Answer their questions. You've got to answer their questions. What we're finding is that 75% of the responses that go back to consumers do not answer their questions. So how do you expect to retain that customer in a dialogue or anything else? How do you expect to get that guy on the lot if you're not answering their questions? And if you're not, I guarantee you somebody else will. I guarantee you. We talk about duplication. Oh, I hate these guys. They just shop me around. You know what? They put out a lot of feelers because we're not answering their questions. Okay? This data, this research has been out there for a while, guys. We're in a marketplace today where you've got to address the price question. You've got to address if that vehicle is on the lot or not. Now, what I am not saying is you've got to provide them with the lowest price. That is not my message at all. But what I am saying is you absolutely have to talk about it in some fashion. Okay? That's the reason that they're raising their hand. For you not to do that, for you to say, hey, come on down on Saturday, and if you do, ask for Kevin, that doesn't fly anymore. And the data is there. There's study after study after study that shows that dealers that are addressing the price question are stopping that customer, and they're stopping them cold. Now, again, what do? Go to value. That's what's on their mind today anyway, right? Package it together, talk about value. You decide where that price point should be. You decide if you want to give them a range. You decide how you want to do that, but you've got to do something. Last thing is to remember that this has far-reaching implications, okay? Customers are actually switching brands, because the dealers are not answering their questions. About 23% of them, okay? All right, so get off that soapbox here. The other thing that we need to think about, though, is when we think about opportunities, we tend to think about form, email form. Don't forget the phone. A lot of these come in via the phone. Most of these come in the phone. But here's something really crazy. A couple months ago, we did a little bit of research. We audited 1,000 of our inbound phone leads, 1,000 at random. And this is what we found. 25% of them were not able to, 25% of the dealers' voicemail systems were not working. There was no way for that consumer to leave a voicemail. Call would come in and go into the switchboard. It would go into some sales rep's voicemail, and it was full. They couldn't leave a voicemail. What did that customer do? They hung up. Boom, missed opportunity. What'd that cost us? Can't do it. When was the last time you checked? Something we don't think about. Hopefully you will today, right? What we also found is of those calls that connected, about 35% of them didn't suggest an alternate vehicle if the vehicle was sold. I mean, come on, guys. We've been talking about this forever. I can't tell you how often we heard that, hi, I'm looking for that GMC Yukon. Oh, geez, I know that sold the other day. Oh, okay. Well, thank you. All right. Thanks for calling. Wow. Could have sold a GMC Yukon. That would have been a good deal today, huh? 72% of dealers did not ask for an appointment. Again, we've been talking about this forever. And you know what? We all say, oh, yeah, I do that. I do it all the time. Do you really? Again, in this marketplace, that opportunity could be the only one that you get today. just like that cold, rainy day in December, right? So we just have to think about this, right? These opportunities are way more precious today than they have ever been. Let's just not waste them. Some of the other things that we need to think about is adjusting our responses to the types of customers that we get. Now, for years and years, we've all heard things like, these internet customers, they're all email. They're all about email. They want an email response. But you know what we're finding is as younger generation is coming up, that's starting to change a little bit. What we know right now is about 26% of the shoppers that are out there today are actually open to phone calls. They tend to be the younger ones, okay? So it's good to ask, which is your preferred method of communication? And R.L. Polk, in this study that I mentioned here a moment ago, actually found that dealers that are responding to consumers in the way that they want to be responded to have up to 70% higher closing rate. I'm not saying a 70% closing rate, but I'm saying it goes up by 70%. So one of the things that we could do if we don't know from the lead, or if we don't know exactly what we've got there, just ask the question, hey, do you prefer email or do you prefer phone? You'll be surprised. More and more of them are saying, you know what, phone. All right. So Polk did this interesting study a little while ago, and they said, all right, we know that people that are shopping online today are not all the same, and we shouldn't respond to them all in the same way. What we should do is try to understand what kind of shopper this is. And what the key point of their study was that it said that if you better identify who these types of shoppers are and respond to them in ways that are important to them, the closing rate goes up. So let's talk about this a little bit. Polk said that there are three different types of buyers: first-time buyer, local brand, loyalist, and what they call defectors, right? And what we want to do is kind of break all these down, talk about these. First group is first-time buyers. Now, this is a group that we tend to kind of laugh about a little bit, sidestep, thinking to ourselves, yeah, these guys are just minis. We should walk around them. I'm going to work pretty hard to get these guys bought. Might want to rethink that a little bit, because what we found, or what Polk found, was that of the three groups, this group closed at the highest rate of any of the three, okay? Converted 83% of the time with the dealers that would actually respond back to them. Why? Because most dealers aren't responding back to them. Pretty simple. This represents 10% of all the buyers in the marketplace today, and this number is growing. It's growing dramatically. Of the three groups, this is the one that is eclipsing all the others in terms of growth rate. So keep in mind that this group as a whole are really eager to find a dealership that they can work with, and they are very well wired. They've done all their homework and all that. If you're online, they want to talk to you, okay? So the key here to winning them over is talk to them back. So how do we identify these guys? The lead comes in, is it going to say first-time buyer on it? No, of course not. So what we need to do is in our response, either phone or email, is we need to ask them. Now when you ask them, you've got to follow it right up with, hey, first time you bought a vehicle before? Have you got to tell them why you're asking that question, otherwise they'll be offended. But the quick response is, I'm only asking this question because our manufacturers may have some financing that are available just to first-time buyers and may actually help out the deal a little bit. Okay? So now it's a benefit to them to answer that question. Okay? And it's very likely that your manufacturer may actually have something that could help put that deal together. It's kind of a no-brainer to say it, but I'll say it anyway. The responses should emphasize price, payment, and value. Why? Because these guys are payment buyers. We all know that. Keep in mind, though, that our objective with this particular group is to build their trust and, in particular, answer their questions around the vehicle inventory and around payments. This group as a whole tend to be less focused on specific vehicle. They'll have an idea what they want, but they can be very malleable. So don't forget about selling up and selling down, right? Taking the used car buyer, showing them a new car, taking the new car buyer, showing them how they can get more car if they buy used. Their overall objective is just to get a vehicle, and they tend to be pretty flexible. So this is one that we shouldn't run away from and think, oh, this is just somebody that's going to take me a lot of time and energy. The other thing is follow up with a phone number or follow up on the phone if they provide one. And the reason I mention this is because the Polk study told us that these buyers in particular tended to be very open to doing communication on the phone. So this is one that you can easily move to a phone call. All right, loyalists. So loyalists are the folks that are the ones who tend to be stuck on the brand, right? These are the folks that have always bought a Ford, will probably always buy a Ford.